This is the Stars and Stripes in 7, your online source for editorially independent news and information for the U.S. military community. I'm Lamont Easter. According to a new report from the Government Accountability Office, the Department of Veterans Affairs failed to thoroughly vet medical providers for its community care program, resulting in doctors with revoked or suspended medical licenses being approved to treat veterans. The GAO recommended the VA follow its own regulations for community care doctors without cutting corners. It also suggested the VA improve its systems to automatically flag providers who don't meet the criteria for the program. After the GAO's findings were released, 4 lawmakers on the House Committee on Veterans Affairs wrote to Stephen Lieberman, deputy to the VA Undersecretary for Health, urging him to review and deactivate the 1,600 providers. The VA agreed to implement all the recommendations this year. In COVID-related news, naval bases in Spain, Italy, and Greece reported strong turnout for both COVID-19 boosters and pediatric doses of the vaccines, with many base medical facilities offering multiple shot clinics, in addition to scheduled or walk-in appointments. Navy medical personnel in Southern Europe have injected more than 10,000 COVID-19 boosters to eligible adults and teens. They have also vaccinated hundreds of children under the age of 12 in recent months since the shots were made available in the fall of 2021. Medical officials report about 65% of shots given to adults 18 and older in recent months were of the Moderna vaccine, followed by Pfizer at 34%. Johnson & Johnson accounted for about 1% of booster shots. Booster shots are currently urged by the Navy, but not yet mandated. Meanwhile, 2 Marines have become the first service members to receive waivers to the Defense Department's coronavirus vaccine mandate for religious reasons. The Marine Corps has received over 3,300 requests for religious exemptions to the vaccine. The service declined to comment on the nature of the requests or why these 2 were granted and others were denied, citing privacy considerations. Some of the requests have yet to be adjudicated. The lack of religious exemptions across the services has drawn scrutiny in recent weeks. A U.S. District Court judge in Texas granted a temporary injunction stopping the Navy from applying its vaccine mandate on 35 Navy special operators, citing the First Amendment. Chief Pentagon spokesman John Kirby has not said how the Pentagon plans to respond to the injunction, but defense officials are working with the Department of Justice to discuss legal options moving forward. The Defense Department allows all troops to apply for waivers to the mandate for medical, religious, or other administrative reasons, but no service branch had approved any religious waivers until recently. Charles McGee, a Tuskegee airman who flew 409 fighter combat missions over 3 wars and later helped to bring attention to the black pilots who had battled racism at home, died at the age of 102 at his home in Bethesda, Maryland. During the U.S. entry into World War II and after the Army Air Corps was forced to admit African Americans, McGee left the University of Illinois to join an experimental program for black soldiers seeking to train as pilots. In October 1942, he was sent to the Tuskegee Army Airfield in Alabama for flight training. McGee graduated from flight school in June 1943, and in early 1944 joined the all-black 332nd Fighter Group known as the Red Tails. He flew 136 missions as the group accompanied bombers over Europe. More than 900 men trained at Tuskegee from 1940 to 1946. About 450 deployed overseas and 150 lost their lives in training or combat. McGee remained in the Army Air Corps, later the U.S. Air Force, and served for 30 years. After a 2021 federal review of troop deployments directed the Pentagon to assess its enduring posture requirements in the Middle East, the U.S. military is likely to reduce the number of troops it keeps in the Middle East and Central Asia, while remaining engaged in those regions to counter Iran and extremist threats. This would allow the Pentagon to concentrate on deterring China from engaging in a fight for Taiwan and other territories in Asia. It would further allow the U.S. to keep focus on Russia. An estimated 40,000 to 60,000 troops are deployed to CENTCOM. These troops are deployed to 21 countries, from Egypt in the west to Kazakhstan in the northeast. They train with local military units, operate drones, and maintain a vast network of bases necessary to move U.S. troops throughout the area. The commander in charge of CENTCOM's next steps may soon be Army Lieutenant General Michael Eric Kurilla, commander of the 18th Airborne Corps, headquartered at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. If his nomination is confirmed as expected by the Senate, Kurilla will have to gauge what is needed to deal with continuing threats in Iran and Afghanistan. Finally, in Live Oak, Florida, France's honorary consul in Jacksonville presented Earl Mills with the Knight of the Legion of Honor, the highest French distinction for military and civil accomplishments. The award was created by Napoleon Bonaparte in 1802 and is meant to honor exceptional service to France. The United States is the oldest ally of France, and the decision to honor U.S. soldiers shows the strong ties between France and the United States. Earl Mills parachuted from a U.S. Army plane over Normandy as part of a wave of Allied soldiers determined to liberate the country and the rest of Europe from the threat of the Nazi regime. He was a heavy mortar crewman tasked with helping take out gun emplacements that would soon be aimed at the Allied soldiers storming the beach. After 4 days of fighting, he and fellow soldiers were taken back to England, a chance for rest and to replace all those who had been killed or wounded. Earl Mills is now 100 years old and still lives on the family farm. And that is all for this edition of Stars and Stripes in 7. I'm Lamont Easter, helping you stay connected.